Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining. Talk about the politics and the political situation in Kenya. How many people think that William Ruto, the incumbent, is going to get back to the seat? By how many votes do you think William Ruto is going to secure back the presidential seat? If at all we put Matiang'i and Kalonzo on the ballot box to compete against Ruto, we shall be dividing some votes from the mountain, giving one to Ruto, others to Kalonzo, and others to Matiang'i. And what will be the situation there if there are three candidates on that ballot, three candidates for the presidential election? What will be? Because in the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 7, which talks about representation of people, Article 138, Sub-Article 5, it states that the presidential candidate should always get half of the votes casted, which they call 50 plus 1 votes. And then also the same person who is the presidential candidate should also get 25% of the votes that have been voted in all the 47 counties. Those are the two aspects of the winner in the presidential election. Article 138, Sub-Article 5 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 says that the presidential candidate who is going to be declared the winner should get 50% of the votes casted, that is 50 plus 1, and then also get 25% of the votes that have been casted in a half of the 47 counties of Kenya. And then when we put these three people, William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Fred Matiang'i, William Ruto is the only person who can get 25%. William Ruto is the only person who can get 25% of the votes in the 47 counties. That is the only person who can secure that. When we go to Kalonzo, his base is in Ukambani. Let us assume that Kalonzo can get 25% of the votes in Ukambani. Ukambani is only having 4 counties. That is not 25% of the 47 counties. When we go to Fred Matiang'i has his base in Kisii. In Kisii and Nyamira, those are 2 counties. That is not a secure, you can say that he can win the 25% of the total votes of the 47 counties. So William Ruto is going to win the second one, which is in Article 138. Sub-Article 8 states that you must get 25% of the 20. That will force us to go for a runoff. And when we go for a runoff, this is whereby all the votes is supposed to be repeated after 30 days. After voting 2027 on 8th of August, and then the election is declared to be a runoff, it means that all the candidates should go back for a re-election. And this happens. For example, the third person. Let's assume that Kalonzo Musyoka is the one who has been the winner, but not securing the 25% plus 1. And then William Ruto becomes on the second, securing the 25% plus 1, but not the 50% plus 1. So they declare for a runoff. A runoff, the only 2 candidates who will go for a re-election, candidate number 1 and number 2. Candidate number 2 can be bought with either of the 2 candidates. So Fred Matiang'i can decide to support Ruto for selfish reasons, or Fred Matiang'i can also decide to support Kalonzo Musyoka. That's what we call a runoff. And this election in 2027, be sure we shall go for a runoff, unless the opposition unites and keeps united until the end. If the opposition keeps united until the end, then there will be no runoff. There will be no runoff. The election will be just general election, and then the winner is declared at the end. Because we have avoided a runoff since 2010. Since 2010, we have avoided a runoff in our presidential election. But this time round, I'm seeing a possibility whereby there shall be a runoff. Simply because the two people that will be competing, the incumbent president, William Ruto, will not be able to gather votes in a 25% of the 47 counties. They will not be able to do that. If any person who could do that is only Raila who can do that. It is only Raila who can secure 25% of the votes in the 47 counties, and William Ruto can do that easily. But the candidates, name them, the candidates that are presiding themselves, name them, Natembea, if it is Kalonzo, if it is Matiang'i, even if it is Gachagua, they cannot secure 25% plus 1. The second requirement, that is the second requirement according to chapter 7, article 138, sub-article 8. Yeah. Thank you for joining Zanil Adventures. I see you. How is you? Zanil Adventures, how is you? 145 subscribers. You're growing. I really appreciate that. You're growing. You can tell us where you're watching us from. No deal. I see you. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel as we go. So the next general election, I am very sure, and I'm certain about this, it is going to end in a runoff. It will end in a runoff. No possibility for the election to be done and then we get the winner in the first round. We are going to go for the second round. Because the requirements that have been placed on the presidential election, the winner who wins the presidential election, the people who are presenting themselves as the presidential candidate cannot meet all these criteria. It is only William Ruto who can meet the criteria. And he can meet the criteria if the opposition will be divided. Assuming that the opposition presents 4 or 5 presidential candidates, that means that William Ruto will beat them right away. But if they remain united and produce only one candidate, William Ruto will be beaten right away. Will go for a one term right away. And if they produce more than one presidential candidate, the opposition produces more than one presidential candidate, it means that we are going to go for a runoff. You can put this video on, visit the same video, talking about the same. For those who understand the Constitution of Kenya, for those who really understand the Constitution of Kenya, go to the Constitution of Kenya, chapter 7, talking about representation. Go to Article 138. Read Article 138, sub-article 5. It states that the presidential candidate must be able to gather 50% of the votes casted. That is 50 plus 1%. 50 plus 1. That is criteria number 1. Criteria number 2, the presidential candidate must also get 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties. a half of the 47 counties. And according to the presidential candidates that are presenting themselves, criteria number 2, which is getting 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties of Kenya, they cannot get that. Be assured that if Fred Matiang'i stands or presents himself as a presidential candidate, he will not be able to achieve criteria number 2, getting 25% of the votes in a half of the 47 counties of Kenya. He will not attain that. But William Ruto, the second criteria, which is 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties, William Ruto will get that. Fred Matiang'i will only fulfill criteria number 1, which is 50% of the votes casted across the country. But the second criteria he will not get. That begs the question by making us to go for a runoff. And a runoff is always conducted after 30 days because the election is supposed to be taken in 8th of August 2027. If they declare a runoff, that means we shall wait for 30 days and then we go for a next re-election. Christopher Mwadena, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Subscribe to the channel. You shall declare a runoff and then wait for 30 days for us to present ourselves again for a runoff. We are saying that a runoff is always triggered if a presidential candidate who is going to be declared the winner does not meet the criteria or the threshold that is allocated in the Constitution of Kenya, which is Chapter 7 of the Constitution of Kenya, talking about representation of people, Article 138, Sub-Article 5, Sub-Article 7, and Sub-Article 8. What does Sub-Article 5 say? Sub-Article 5 states that a presidential candidate must get 50% of the votes casted in the whole country, which is 50 plus 1. 138, Article 138, Sub-Article 8 states that he must also get 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties of Kenya. And according to the people that are presenting themselves to become the presidential candidate of the next president of Kenya, it is only William Ruto who can meet the second criteria. 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties. William Ruto can get that right away. But Fred Matiang'i cannot get, basing on his base in Kisii and Nyamira. Those are only 2 counties of the 47. Kalonzo Musyoka, his base is always in Ukambani. Ukambani, we only have four counties. That is Makueni, Kitui, Machakos, and Makueni, Kitui, and Machakos. Those are 3 counties, which does not meet the second criteria stated in Article 138, Sub-Article 8, that 25% of, you must also get 25% of the votes in a half of the 47 counties. Be it Natembea. Natembea comes from Western region. Natembea will, his base maybe can be in Trans Nzoia, Vihiga, Kakamega, Bungoma, Busia. Those are 5 counties. That is not a half of the 47 counties. Let's also go to Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya, let's say, for example, Gachagua. Gachagua maybe has Nyeri. Gachagua can do that. Maybe Gachagua can get a half, 25% of the votes casted in a half of the 47 counties. Gachagua can do that. If you take Gachagua and take the Mount Kenya counties, adding Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Nyandarua. Maybe that can work that. But according to the constitution, if a person is once impeached from the government, is not allowed to hold any public office. That is the constitution. That is the constitution. So maybe the person that is going to be supported by Gachagua can also get a chance. The person that is going to be supported by Gachagua can get a chance. And then we take Nakuru, we take Meru, we take Nyeri, we take Kiambu, we take Murang'a, Embu, Tharaka Nithi, we add to Kirinyaga, we add to Murang'a, and then we add that maybe if Kalonzo is on that same coalition, we add the three counties of Ukambani, and then that is 14, and then we add, if Natembeya will be together with them, we add the 5 counties of Western region, that is 19. And then there's another one, the coastal region. We can add 6 counties from the coastal region. That will make 25% of a half of the 47 counties. That criteria will be met. And then also Ghana, 50% plus 1 across the country. That will be declared the presidential candidate. And who will be that? That will happen only if the opposition is united against William Ruto. Thank you so much, Bigeu Cop. That's why I select and subbed you. We're all gonna make it. Thank you. And it will only happen if the opposition is supposed to be united. That is the only thing. But the moment you divide the Mount Kenya votes, that gives William Ruto a go and straight ahead win. Don't ever, even if the opposition is united, don't ever underestimate William Ruto. If you have checked the history of our president, William Samoei Ruto, don't ever underestimate William Ruto. He is sharp here. He is very, 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 very sharp. Thank you guys for joining, and subscribe to the channel talking about political situation in the country. And you can also tell me your opinions in the comments section below, and I will read them and then calculate them in my analysis. Also subscribe to the channel. As you like, comment, and share. There's a ton of videos on my channel, guys. You can also reach me on my channel in the description. We have a mobile phone number that reaches directly to my WhatsApp. You can tell me what you think as we prepare ourselves ahead of the 2027. What are Kenyans saying? Today, Kenyans, maybe the voter turnout will change and will shift, because Kenyans have learned that whatever they do at the ballot will always affect their lives and their livelihoods. That's what I'm really happy about that. Really happy about Kenyans, those Kenyans who are not voting in the previous years. This year, 2027 will be a different year. 2027 will be a different year. There are so many people who will cry, and there are so many people who will celebrate. That I really assure you. Many will cry and many will celebrate. And if the Gen Zs are declaring, and they are saying that they are 14 million, If really Gen Zs are serious and they are 14 million the way they claim, let's see. Let's then meet at the ballot. Many are times where we leave the old people to decide for us. Many are times when we assume that the government, the politics does not matter to us. But we have seen it from 2024, 2025 now, since we elected this government. It has been affecting us each and every day. Each and every day. So keep our eyes, let's stay sharp as we focus on that. As voter registration is taking place, guys. You can just walk into the IBC center and then register as a voter. That vote is your future. That vote is your life. For the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, we are going to live according to what you did in 2027. Your life is going to be affected with the decision that you are going to make. If you vote wisely, if you vote good, you shall experience that. But if you vote in people who don't care about the issues that are affecting you, then that is how you are going to live for the next 5 years. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate your support, guys, as you subscribe, as you join, subscribe.